What's up, y'all? This is a quick tutorial on how to use the elementary school standards gradebook. To begin with, there is an instructions tab here that goes through most of what we're talking about in this video, but it is also nice to have a video to have someone explain things to you live, sort of live, and in person. Where I would go is I would start with the student information. On this tab, you can put in as much information that you want about the students. I started with name, notes, maybe some accommodations, but if you want to put other demographic information, you can do that in here. The main thing to know about this tab is it will reference from this column all the way down to row 51. So it will pull in 50 students total. Let's put a few students in so we can see what this looks like. So we've got some of our friends put in here, and you're going to see that these students are now going to be referenced in every single tab. So that's why this tab is important, mainly this first column. This is what you need to enter from your roster. The second thing that you need to do to make sure that this is set up for you is to go to the reference tab. Here you have space to put the standards for your different subjects. I've made it so there's 20 standards for a particular subject, but if you need more, you can just click here, highlight, and insert rows. Doesn't matter where you put them, just as long as you're not interfering with these pieces here and you're not just adding it at the end. If you put extra rows in the middle, then that will filter through to all the formulas in the rest of the tabs. So here I put in just a couple reading standards that you might have, and we can see if we go to writing, there's not going to be anything there because I didn't put anything in the writing standards. But if I go to reading, here are my students, here are the different standards that I've already selected. And I can pick any of the different standards that come from the box where it says reading standards. Basically, the first column here will go with the first tab here. The second tab will go with the second, and so on. After you do that setup, it won't matter. You can rearrange them. It won't matter. They're pulling where they're referencing. But just so you make sure that you are putting the reading tab and putting it with the first one here. Okay, so when you first open this and you first set it up, they're going to be in sequential order. After that, it doesn't matter how you move them around. So we go back to the reading tab. We can see that this has got 5 levels for the students. And as you enter data, they will automatically color code for you. So if Joey actually did a little bit better on this, I can change that and it will automatically update. If you've got a bunch of blank rows that you don't need because you don't have 50 students, just highlight these. Go up here and I'm going to right click and I am going to hide those rows. You might get an error message here. That's okay because you're not changing the formulas, but that error message does exist. So if you did try and change some cells where there are formulas, it's going to give you a warning that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? You might mess up some formulas. But hiding rows shouldn't do anything to mess up formulas. So here we've got our data, our scores for the different assignments. You can have one assignment per standard. It can be formative or summative. You can have multiple standards with one assignment, and they can be formative or summative. You can have the same standard repeated. It doesn't have to be all comprehension together. It can bounce from comprehension to fluency to comprehension. That's okay. Just make sure that you are tagging the correct standard, the correct type of assessment, and what the assessment is. As we go down, you'll see that you've got the percentage of students who have a 5, a percentage of students who have a 4, which is exceeding or meeting, and we can see here that roughly 43% of students for this specific standard on this assessment are at or above expectations. Then you have, if we scroll down a little bit, you have 57% who are approaching, progressing, or attempting. So that might show you, hey, I need to do some remediation on this topic, on this standard for the class. So it kind of gives you some summary statistics here based on individual students. We can see individual students, and then we can see as a whole class summary right here. So it kind of gives you a gauge on what you need to do to help out your students. Then let's say we want to view some information about specific students. All right, so here we've got Chandler selected. This will automatically pull up any of the students that you have listed above. And then you can also pick which standards you want to look at. So here we'll just continue looking at comprehension. What will happen is after you pick a student, after you pick a standard, it will filter in all of the information for that standard for that student. Below that, it's going to have a row where you have only the summative scores pulled out. So here in this table, we can see that Joey had a 5 and then a 4 on 2 formative values. The formatives are always gray, and then the summative is purple. So far, we've had one summative assessment. Joey got a 3 on this, so we can see that he's got an average of his summatives here. We've got an average of all of the scores. I don't know if you really want to consider formative in there. That's up to you. And then we have a general trend to see that Joey's focus seems to be going down with this. These 3 pieces of data, this trend, these averages, and looking at the scores for that particular student should give you a more holistic view of that student for that standard. And it's set up so you can look at 2 standards at a time. So here we have, let's look at vocabulary as well. All right, so here we have 2 summatives. We can see that there's no formatives because there's no gray values over here, just the color-coded ones. But we can see that the trend for Joey's vocabulary is going from 2 to 5. So he's trending upwards. He's got an average of 3.5, and you can see that he did better on the more recent than he did on the previous. So again, for the standard, you've got multiple pieces of information. You've got a trend, you've got the most recent scores or the sequence of the scores, and you've got an average. So using all of those pieces of information plus what you already know about the student, you should have enough information to give them an overall score for that particular standard. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. It's located here on the instructions tab. And I hope you have a great school year.